Welcome to another Underrated Film Saturday, and today I thought it would be interesting to address a film that recently came out, and that is one that I think did well when it initially came out, but I don't think a lot of people talk about it anymore. And I thought it would be interesting to address this film because I think in certain respects it is overlooked, but at the same time, I don't think it's as grandiose of a love story or like of a love message, but at the same time I still think it holds up as a good sort of, I guess you could call, commentary on romance. And as you can see by the title, that film is 500 Days of Summer. Now, there are certain things sort of like within The Secret of Nim that I did like about this film, and then other parts where I felt like that there were just parts where I couldn't really sympathize or get behind the characters' decision makings. So I'm just going to kind of go through with you sort of my understanding and um, kind of give you my thoughts in regards to the film. But basically, it revolves around these two characters, Tom and Summer, played respectively by Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zooey Deschanel. In particular, I don't really care for Zooey Deschanel as an actress. I don't really find her as good. But Joseph Gordon-Levitt does a really good job within this film. I thought he really carried his character. Zooey Deschanel, I thought, was more playing herself, to be honest, throughout the entire thing. But again, I think that is probably somewhat understandable considering that, her character kind of embodies a little bit of, I wouldn't say necessarily that Zooey Deschanel embodies the character in the same respects as far as personality traits, but I didn't feel like Zooey Deschanel was really playing so much of a character. I felt like more this, I just felt like that she was really playing herself. I didn't really feel like she was really putting on a performance, really. So, yeah, whereas Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I think, has a little bit more of dynamicness to him because he's played in other films where he's maybe a little bit more serious, or has done, I think, a little bit more of a variety of roles, and so that's why I felt like his performance was a little bit stronger than Zoe's personally. But overall, the acting is good. The lines are witty. The dialogue is well done within this film. I like how the characters all bounce off one another. And it has this kind of quirky, I don't want to say hipster, but it kind of has this quirky hipster vibe to it, especially when it tries in certain parts within the film. So I sort of liked it in certain respects, and others I thought were just kind of just there for the sake of being there. And I felt like that was sort of something that kind of took me away from the experience. But again, I think overall the positives of these categories outweigh the negatives. Um, Also, the characters are fairly likable. Not so much Zoe Deschanel's character. I'll get to her character later, but the boy characters. The Joseph Gordon-Levitt's friends within the film. They are so fun to watch. And they are entertaining. They um, they really do care about Tom and his struggles. They are great for little comedic banters, and they feel like actual, side characters. They feel like that these are actual real people. Um, and so that's something that really stuck me in, even though it wasn't really the focus of the film. I almost felt like that it should have been more of a focus because that part was just so enjoyable. And I like how Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character Tom really plays off of his friends so well. And you really do feel like what they have is kind of like a real fun, um, genuine relationship, at least when they're interacting with one another. I don't know what the point was of inserting that younger girl in there. I don't know. I couldn't even remember exactly if she was a relative of Tom's or if she was a relative of one of his friends. I don't think she served any point or any real purpose in the story. I mean, all she did was provide a little bit of guidance, but that's it. I mean, you could have completely scrapped her character and nothing would have been different. So, yeah, I feel like that her character didn't really need to exist. And the funny thing is I actually enjoyed a lot more of the boy characters. I enjoyed more of what the men had to say within this film, more so than what the women had to say. And really, there weren't really a whole lot of women within this film. So, but overall, I thought the majority of the characters were likable. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's Tom is fairly likable. Yes, he can be a little bit of a downer sometimes, and yes, maybe he gets way too emotionally invested at times, but I think there are certain points where you can kind of understand where he's coming from. And I felt like I identified more with his character than I did with Zooey Deschanel's character, Summer. Um, so yeah, I thought he came off as a really genuine person. You know, he has flaws, but you know, he's a character. He's a human being. So I liked how, you know, he felt fully fleshed out to me. Um, Now, the problem that I have with Zooey Deschanel's character within this film is for a myriad of reasons, but I'll go into the one that I think kind of sums it up in the best way that I can summarize it. Zooey Deschanel's character, Summer, is very manipulative. She is constantly messing with Tom throughout this movie. She clearly doesn't know what she wants, even though she claims she does, but then she acts and does a completely different behavior that doesn't suggest what she initially suggests to Tom, and you'll see what this is once you watch the film. And I thought that was I just don't like female characters who are like that. And in fact, I don't even like characters who are like that. I don't like people who are manipulative to other people and get inside them and mess with their emotions like that. I think it's an appalling behavior, and I think that's something that should be discouraged, because I think that's what ultimately really messes up Tom later on, when you see how far Zooey takes it. And I didn't like that. And again, it's not 50 Shades of Grey manipulation. You know, it's sort of, oh, I just want to be friends, but then I'll, like, you know, basically hang out with you constantly, hold your hand in public, kiss you in public. You know, I mean, it's complete manipulation, and I don't like that. I think that's not appropriate. And I think that's just, I think it, and again, you are manipulating another person. You are taking advantage of them in that way. And in doing so, I think it's very improper thing for people to do. And that's why I didn't really get behind a lot of what her character was doing throughout the film, because I thought that she really was manipulating Tom. And I didn't think that she really had any genuine feelings for him, even in the beginning. Um, you know, it's just Tom believed that she did throughout the film. And that's something that I think really bothered me about her character, is I didn't like the fact that she was manipulated. And I've suffered that same kind of manipulation tactics too, and I'm a female. So, you know, this can go both ways. You know, there is a sense of people manipulating each other when it comes to relationships. And that needs to stop. That needs to go away. You know, be clear. Okay, either you are together or you're not. Okay? You know, yeah, stop trying to find this stupid in-between ground called friends with benefits that doesn't work and that makes everything more complicated and more worse, and just be clear, you know. And that's why that's why I couldn't stand it. I can't really stand those kinds of relationships. You know, yes, I understand friendships should be established first. Yes, I understand that. But when you are manipulating someone to such a point into which he manipulates him in this movie, it bothered me. It bothered me excessively, and it did kind of suck my enjoyment out of the film. But I think it also still provides great commentary, because you do really see um, how ultimately, her feelings aren't really reciprocated ever, I think, when it comes to her relationship with Tom. And but at the same time, she let it drag out, she let the relationship continue on and on and on, and I honestly believe that that is ridiculous, and that she shouldn't have dragged it as long as she did. And that really bothered me. And I don't like the fact that she's really uptight. I don't like the fact that she's very, um, that she just has this, she acts all bubbly at times, and then other times it's like, I'm not even gonna, I'm so bland. There's points where she's bland, and then she seems happy go lucky. And when she's bland, she's a bore to watch. She's not interesting. Um, but I think, again, this film's intentions, I think, were to make Summer this way. It was to make her a little bit more manipulative. It was designed to make her think, yeah, that she that she ultimately ends up, really sort of destroying the relationship, especially uh, Tom, making Tom's character feel lost, especially when she drags it out to such a lengthy extent of time. Um, Again, it's supposed to be emphasized that, her parents ended up getting divorced, and so she has this very, um, very, uptight feeling when it comes to love. Like, even at one point, even towards the beginning, she says she doesn't believe it exists. Um, But I mean, the same thing happened to Tom, and it didn't phase him. So I don't really know why it ends up phasing her as much. They don't really go into that. And there's sort of a mystery to her character. Like, they don't really develop her all too much because we usually see things more through Tom's point of view. Not that the story is told through Tom's perspective, but we spend the most time with Tom's character. So yeah, I thought that was just um, uh, a little, I just thought that that aspect of her character didn't really get fully fleshed out. And I know at one point she says sorry, but I mean, still, she manipulates him. She still continues on with the whole thing. It's like, okay, why did you even pursue him to begin with? And I'm literally thinking all she really wanted was just someone to tickle her vagina. That's really all I feel that she wanted. Um, and I really honestly feel like she was very manipulative throughout this movie, and it really made me dislike her as a character. So, um, yeah, it really bothered me. That part bothered me a significant portion of the film. But I think it serves a point though, and that is that love has to go both ways. You can't love someone that doesn't love you back. And Tom keeps trying to convince himself that, I want to get her back. I gotta convince her. But it's like, Tom, there's nothing you can do. I mean, she's decided to sail the boat and not come back, and that's just her choice. But the important thing is that he learns to move on, which you'll see how he sort of does within the film. So again, and then you also see other things that end up happening to Summer, and you think to yourself, wow, okay, this really wasn't explored all too much, but I guess the film wanted to reveal it somehow, so that we go, what a twist at the end. So yeah, so I don't want to give certain aspects to the story away, but I do feel it's important to address the fact that I think she is a little bit manipulative. I think she has a little bit of social problems. She doesn't seem like a very functional character. And to be honest, the fact that what ends up happening to her actually ends up happening to her at the end of the film just says to me that, yeah, I don't know. I really honestly don't know. Okay, all right. You say that you've made up your mind about things, but don't know if that's gonna work out for you. So yeah, there were just parts within this film where I thought she was just way too manipulative. But I think it served a purpose for Tom's character because ultimately Tom realizes that love has to go both ways. You can't love somebody and then not receive that same love and kind of respect in return. And she doesn't really respect Tom throughout this movie. I mean, he does. He tries to be so nice to her and respect her and treat her with dignity and whatnot. And she totally goes unappreciative of it. I mean, she clearly doesn't care for this guy. It's almost plain in some certain scenes like that she's just putting on a show. And yeah, that really bothered me, but it serves a purpose to the film and its message. And I think that's definitely something to point out. Um, so yeah, that's just something that I noticed, and that I think did really bother me. But I understand why the film did that. It was to take a message out of it. And I think that message serves something well. And I think it just shows, you have to have it really ultimately go both ways. You have to be invested in the other person. And you can see throughout the film how Summer is clearly not that invested in the relationship. And she manipulates him, and I think she's a bitch. I'm sorry, but I don't like her character at all in this movie. So yeah, but I think she serves a purpose to the story in that, you can't love someone who doesn't love you back and who doesn't treat you with the same amount of respect. I mean, it just goes to show it's plain and simple, right out there in the open. So yeah, apologize for saying the B word here, but that's the only way I can really describe her because I don't care for her character. I don't think she's any ray of sunshine in this movie. I think she only smiles to manipulate, and she's just not. I don't see things really for her. I don't really sympathize with her all that much. I don't find her a really likable character. So, but I think that just goes to show, there's just some people who don't gel well with others, and it was kind of clear that she really didn't gel well with Tom, even though she sort of manipulated him into thinking that she did. So yeah, I really didn't like the manipulation in this movie. It sucked the complete romance out of it. But again, that wasn't really the film's intentions. This film's intention was to show Tom that you can't love somebody who doesn't love you back, who doesn't appreciate you. That plain and simple. So yeah, I think that's really ultimately all I can say though about this film. I think it was a well done film. I think there's a lot of good things to this film. I didn't like Summer's character, but at the same time, I think she served sort of a purpose to the story. I don't want to say that she's like an outright villain, but at the same time, she sort of serves as that kind of, warning, red flag girl, because I mean, man, she's just manipulative. So that's something I didn't appreciate, and um, that I didn't really care for. Also, she didn't really explain it. I don't think the film did a good job of really ultimately explaining why she doesn't really love Tom. But I don't think she really had genuine feelings to begin with. And you'll sort of see this kind of played out if you watch the film closely. But again, yeah, that's just sort of how it is with this film. But I think it still did a good job and did justice to its message. I just think that I think that was just the film's intentions. But again, it kind of didn't. It sucked my enjoyment out of it knowing that this female character was just very manipulative, and she wasn't inspiring, she wasn't, somebody that you would root for, I mean, she was just some just average girl. And Tom, to me, I saw as someone that was a little bit more, because we spend the most time with him, and I felt he was a lot more likable. Um, but yeah, I think that's really ultimately all I can say about this film without giving too much away. But if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I think this film was a little bit overlooked over time because it came out, I believe, in 2009, so it's um, approaching a significant age. And I think it serves a good message. I think the message really holds this film together, along with its acting and lines and quirkiness, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt being very likable. So yeah, I think that's really ultimately all I can say. But again, if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year. And I hope to see you on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.